Welcome the Executive Director for Southeastern Dispute Resolution Services, Mark Stanley. Hi, Mark.
Thanks for having me, Bart.
Yeah, good to see you. Welcome back. I think Mark was last with us just before the pandemic, so we had no disputes to resolve between then and now?
I will not say that. As we all know, dealing with people, you're dealing with humans and different communication styles, so inevitably you're going to have conflict. It could be a family issue, could be landlord-tenant matter, could be a divorce. We saw lots of divorces happening during the pandemic, but the things that we're going to be talking about today, our previous guest, Mr. Woods, on the board for Lifeways, we'll be talking a lot about mental health and special education issues. So we can kind of segue right off of what we just heard from Mr. Wood.
Yeah, 'cause, you guys are connected, and you deal with some of the same issues, and you've been providing and are going to be providing some training opportunities for Lifeway staff. So how does behavioral health, mental health, and dispute resolution, how do they merge?
Sure. So in roughly 2018, my organization drafted an RFP, a request for services, to become the independent facilitator for Jackson-Hillsdale County. What that credentials my facilitators to do is, under the mental health code in the state of Michigan, anyone who's receiving direct case management through a local community health provider can request to have their service plan for that calendar year reviewed by an independent facilitator. So we have a handful of people that are credentialed to facilitate these meetings for the focus person who's receiving the service and their service provider team. So essentially, we'll reach the community mental health case holder, who's the main person that's running that service treatment plan. Mm-hmm. Will reach out to us usually about a month before a resident's treatment plan is going to expire for that calendar year. And they'll schedule independent facilitation, at which point my staff will do an intake, a direct service call or a meeting with that focus person, their support team and family, kind of talk about their life skills, their desires, what they want to see themselves accomplish in the next calendar year, and help them articulate that plan or those wants and goals to the actual treatment providers. And then we'll kind of bridge that gap on saying, all right, these treatments and these guideposts will be happening for you over the next year, and then we'll reconvene and look and see what was accomplished.
So it's not really, you're not resolving a dispute, maybe you're trying to prevent any future dispute by
Correct.
laying it all out.
Yeah, it's really using an independent facilitator helps that treatment team and the focus person and their support team build the best person-centered plan for that individual. And you're getting better long-term outcomes, you're getting individualized services, and you are able to mediate any disputes that come about from that treatment plan. Maybe there is a communication issue that happened the year before. Maybe there's personality conflicts that arise at the table, and we can kind of hash those out. And on the backside of that, during the implementation of that plan, both the case manager and the recipient can always call our office if there is a dispute that arises during the implementation process within that calendar year. These services, we can meet up to 4 times a year per focus person to issue those kinds of, to have those kinds of meetings. It's very effective.
All right, you brought some slides.
Okay.
So let's take a look and see how you can help. So special education, now we're talking about another area of where you have providers providing service, where there might be some questions about what the expectations are, right?
For sure. Yeah, within the special education mediation service, we're the contracted entity for the special education mediation program through the Department of Education. And we're using a similar process we do for mental health planning, where we're doing a person-centered planning model with the best interests of that child with the individual education plan in mind. So we can get a direct referral for service from a parent, from a school, from a guardian, from the ISD. And we're mediating anything from a state complaint where that parent feels the school is not providing the services that they should. They're not implementing the IEP correctly. We can handle a behavioral modification intervention plan, which is called a 504 plan, which is for a student that doesn't rise to the eligibility for a specific individual education plan. And we can mediate, we can do a review of that IEP. We can review the implementation of that IEP, or anywhere within that spectrum before you get to the hearing process with the administrative law judge.
Has this, with both Lifeways and special ed, are these things that were always available?
Yeah, the special education mediation program was developed in 2005 in the state of Michigan. We've been the contracted entity since. Typically, the behavioral health independent facilitator model has been locally mandated, but it's usually been run by someone, like a social worker or a therapist that's already in the system. And so when we wrote the RFP and were asked to become the facilitator, we're a completely neutral entity who specializes in mediation facilitation skills, but we're not directly connected. We're not providing services. We're not counseling people directly. We're not therapists. We're just facilitating meetings and creating better dialogue between the entities that are really connected. Right. So we're able to have a different perspective brought into those meetings.
Yeah, and I can see where the independence is critical.
Yeah, and independence is one of the largest topics that we talk about when we're developing these plans, is you want them to be least restrictive. And I know Mr. Woods mentioned that a little bit. People, both students and people that are getting managed care, have the right to live their lives as they see fit. So we really help create the space to allow them to advocate for themselves and create a plan that's A, going to be functional for them, B, is going to get them to their wanted goals and to meet their objectives, and C, to really let them live their best life.
Mark, I saw you guys are hosting some sort of a seminar or presentation at the Carnegie branch last week. There are more scheduled. What are these and who are they for? Yeah,
so we developed a summer educational workshop series with the Carnegie Library. We started these in June. So the second Monday and the fourth Friday of each month, we're hosting a presentation on navigation and access to the special education mediation service plan project, as well as the behavioral health mediation and facilitation service programs. And we're inviting the public. These are open to anyone who wants to learn more about navigating those systems. Maybe they have a child or a nephew or a grandson or a granddaughter that's in the educational system that has some questions. Maybe there's a family that is moving into the state and doesn't know how the educational system works. Or any resident that has managed care or has a family member with managed care that really wants to develop or find a way to help develop a better plan for them, as well as staff. I mean, how can they communicate better with their focus people or their clients? How do they contact our office to help them facilitate or to find a mediator that can help in a sticky situation? So these programs are 1 to 2 hours apiece. We've got slide decks and some community information that we'll hand out and do a Q&A after each slideshow. And they go through from gaining access to both of those systems through we have flow charts on referrals, next steps, timelines for each system, dialogue programs, or skills and techniques that we use for both systems, really from A to Z.
Well, you do a lot more than I realized. But I do like to hear the stories about the The disputes, the juicy details of the
The juicy disputes. Everybody has the juicy disputes. It's some are very. I mean, even we're dealing with people, so sometimes even the most mundane issue can become the most complex, or something's just completely from left field, and you have no idea where the conversation's going, and then you kind of have to rein everybody in and get them to some issues that can be.
Well, thanks for what you and your mediators and trainers do, and appreciate you taking time to be here today.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet. Mark Stanley, Executive Director of Southeastern Dispute Resolution Services. Next,